Hey guys, this is Joe. Today I want to introduce you to our partner Vanta. Achieving ISO 27001 or SOC 2 compliance can unlock major growth for your company and build customer trust, but the process can be time intense and costly. Vanta automates compliance, getting your audit ready quickly and saving up to 85% of associated costs. And Vanta scales with your business, helping you enter new markets. Join 7,000 global companies like Atlassian, Flow Health, and Quora that trust Vanta. Claim 20% off Vanta at vanta.com/startupradio. That's vanta.com, spelled vanta.com/startupradio.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io. No, you're not mistaken. Today is Monday and not Thursday. The main reason behind this, in the US, our main market, there is Columbus Day, a public holiday. And so this is a Columbus Day special. As a special, we've been thinking what we can bring you. And then Alex approached us for a sponsored interview. So I would like to welcome you. Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Hey, Ivan. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. People may not know, but we know each other for quite some time. And we actually had an interview when you had a nonprofit organization next to the business we're now introducing to our audience called Join Mainland. And we worked there together, full disclosure here. And that said, we've been talking before the interview, like this morning, you've been sending me text message. Hey, how can I prepare? And I told you there are two options. Option one, you drink a whiskey and be relaxed. Option two, you listen to other podcasts I recorded just recently. Did you go with option one or two?
Well, I did go with option one, but I opted for the non-alcoholic version. So yeah, I mean, I feel well prepared anyway.
That is pretty cool. I do know a lot about you, and even though this is sponsored content, we are going to go through a little bit your CV and what you guys are doing, and eventually end up talking a little bit about what Emporion Ventures services are. That said, let us talk a little bit about what you did in the past, because for example, I know you've been to a US high school, right?
Yeah, actually that's going way back. Was when I was in high school. I went to Cordova High in Rancho Cordova, close to Sacramento, for half a year, and I'm honorary high school alumni.
What did you do after that? What did you study? What brought you to found an agency, actually a very good agency, because admittedly, you're one of your co-founders is my most favorite designer, and he actually designed the logo and the appearance of Startuprad.io.
Yeah, Dennis, you're referring to my co-founder, Dennis. Yeah, we've been working together quite a while, Dennis and I, and of course, we always loved working with you and supporting Startuprad.io because we very much love the podcast. Therefore, it's always a pleasure working with you. About myself, well, I'm actually an economist by trade. So I went to university after high school, studied first the usual business administration, then realized, hey, I actually like economics a lot. And while studying, actually Dennis approached me about, creating a product, creating a startup. And we did so back in 2014 with our first digital product, which was called Handle, the social get work. And the idea was back in the day, there was no real flea market or customer to customer secondhand market. So there was, of course, eBay Kleinanzeigen, and a lot of people used Facebook groups. And we realized, hey, somehow this all is not really cool. You don't have any legal certainty in there. And so we kind of had this idea of a great crossover product of eBay and Facebook. And, first startup we ever did. And, how it is, we failed miserably. We actually went to the point where we had like a super cool MVP, but instead of looking for an investor as we should have done it, we decided to become an agency. And so over a few iterations of the agency, we are now a digital product studio.
I see. A digital product studio, Emporion Innovations. Okay, so eBay Kleinanzeigen, for everybody who's not from Germany, is something that eBay turned into. Here in Germany, it's something I would compare it to like Craigslist in the UK. Don't you think so?
Correct, yeah.
And you wanted to do something similar way before it was around?
Yeah, if you look at these Craigslist or eBay Kleinanzeigen, basically what you do is you have someone who's pretending to have something they want to sell, and you have someone who writes they want to buy it, and then you kind of had to figure out how not to get scammed. And same thing happened in Facebook groups, so people were just posting images, and I mean it worked kind of, but we thought, hey, this is a problem we're solving. Kind of create this social marketplace where you could create like these little niche groups of people trading each and every kind of little niche market. I don't know, kind of card game traders, or where you're trading used electronics. And we had a few cool ideas surrounding this. We finally realized that we, after trying to bootstrap it, we at some point Facebook integrated all this buying and selling features they have now, and at that point we realized, okay, this product is never going to fly because just Facebook solved the problem themselves.
So you pivoted from a failed German version of Craigslist into an agency that is now also a venture builder. Can you take us a little bit on this journey, because it sounds very interesting to me?
So how did we transform from a failed startup to a digital product studio? I guess, what we did was we looked at the abilities in our team, and we realized, okay, we have a great designer, we have a great developer, and we had me as a kind of business economics guy who was supposedly doing investor relations. So we decided to become a web agency, and we jumped through all the hoops. And what I can tell you is that creating a web agency from on the green field is like a super, super bad idea. Never do that. So we kind of, we created a business for ourselves. And at some point we realized, firstly, just being a web agency is nothing we want to do. So this is simply not enough, because, only creating this web stuff is nice and this is fun, but it's not comprehensive. So you don't interact with the business of the people. You just listen to them, and then, you kind of create this front end piece, but you never really get to the point where you can really create a business. And at some point we so also from our own failed startup, we realized that there's actually two pieces we realized. One thing is never build a product without testing, if you actually have a problem worth solving. And the second thing is, it's, all of you have heard it millions of times, but fail early and fail fast. This is and fail very hard. This is what we learned, because never waste your time on something that will not work. Realize this early and then go on and do something else. And from there on, we created this approach of saying, okay, if you want to create a startup, if you want to create a product, validate early if there's the most crucial part of your business plan, which is the demand side, right? Your whole business model can be awesome, but if there's no demand, it's basically dead from the start. And this is a service we started offering. We really quickly got involved with company builders and accelerators. Our main target group, our main customer group is company builders and corporate startups. Also funded startups, where we support in the process of going from idea to actual product.
Given that you are under NDA and you cannot talk about any real examples, theoretically speaking, how would you approach such a product development?
Mm-hmm. So now suppose there's a team who's concerning themselves with potential markets and potential solutions. What we would do is first establish who is the target group of your product. Is it a one-side problem? So is it a product that you just sell? Or is it a two-sided problem? Is this something where you need, for example, a provider and someone who buys? These are super hard to establish, because you always have the problem of matching. But these are the two cases. So, and then we have to make sure that we all speak about the same target group. So this is something crucial, that the whole team, as well as on the innovator side, as well as on our side, understands exactly who the target group is. Personas can help, or just making very sure that we have all a clear image.
May we add at this point that personas are your theoretical customers, which you use to kind of develop, to kind of target your product. And usually what's for me is every time a startup comes around and says, oh, our persona is a guy, male, between 25 and 45. He has a college degree and he has above average income. I say, that's no person. That's a whole population. So, do you have some clues on how to develop a real persona, something that is actually existing and not stretching 20% of the population of a country?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, personas can be done in a good way and they can be done in a very bad way. So the good way to do them is to understand what exactly you're using them for. And in my opinion, the persona is something to align everybody in the team to understand who this is for. So that the marketing guy, the CEO and the developer, when they talk about what the customer's problem is, they all know they're talking about the exact same person. And this only works when you give them names, when you give them a face, when you give them, where they work, what are their hobbies, how would they, what would be a statement that they would usually give? This is something you do in the beginning completely based on assumptions. And then the more you talk to your potential customers, the more you try to find out about them. For example, after knowing this is our assumption our first assumption for the target group, usually what you're trying to do is you try to get someone to interview. So you're trying to find someone who would be your ideal customer, and you try to discuss with him what his problems are, what problems he's facing. And you do this, with, approximately 5 people, and then you come to the point where you don't hear much more or much new from them anymore. And this is the point where, you kind of reach this saturated place of, okay, I now know what your problems are, and I know how you would rate them relative to each other. So, and if you're lucky, the problem that you assume would be there is there, and you are actually, if you're trying to create this value proposition of we're trying to solve this problem for you, you might find someone who actually wants to spend money on this. And the persona is something that is being done iteratively on the process, and it will help guide you. Your whole development process will change, but it will help all of your team to understand who your customer is, what their problems are, what they're capable of, and what they're not capable of in terms of UX or, something you require them, for example, cognitive effort of your solution. And this is usually the first step. This is something that develops. And one of our tasks we have is, trying to find very early traction. So these teams usually have they have different ideas and different problems they suspect are there. And we're very early going in, coming up with something called a burner brand. So something we put out there we can use that looks convincing. And we put out this problem and this value proposition you have and say, hey, we're solving, you have problem X, Y, Z, we're solving it for you. And we see, for example, put this on for example, Facebook and check whether or not people click on it. And if you put a lead gen form behind it, it will very quickly show you, number one, if people are interested, if the target group you're targeting is interested, and if you even get email addresses from them. This is a problem so big that people just on this far-fetched idea, if I put in my email address here, I might get someone who solves this problem. They just give their email address. And this is perfect, because if you get the email address, you can get in touch and then, do customer discovery interviews, try to find out what are your problems and who are you.
Well, if you get the email, you can get into the spam filter of the client. Just to interrupt you a tiny bit here, my question would be a burner brand. That means you take kind of similar or the product of your client, brand it differently with something like XYZ and make a test so a potential competitor cannot really conclude where this product is coming from, or it's totally new. And so the startup itself is not burning its name, but you do it as a dummy brand. Is that true?
That is correct. This is what we found is most sensible, because it relieves the client from the issue of, we cannot do this, we don't have anything yet. This is usually one of the concerns you have. We cannot go out until we have something, right? But this is, in my opinion, not true, because you need to try early and you need to fail quickly. And in order to do this, you need to be out there, because the only thing that will, give you an indication if you do something worthwhile is if somebody is willing to use it. And if not, stop doing it. And having these burner brands just takes the pressure off the client. We can do what we believe is makes sense without having to check. Is this something that that would hurt your brand, for example. So we can go out and just put different problem statements, for example, and see which one sticks and give different value propositions. And that makes everything a lot easier. Yeah. What happens afterwards? Well, usually, through this process, you're refining your idea. You get a better understanding of the problem you're trying to solve. So you're understanding who your target audience is. They are there. So you continue in your process, and then there's a lot of ways to deal with that. So if it's, for example, a B2B product you're thinking about doing, you could create a sales pitch, a sales deck, send them out to prospective companies and see if they respond. Or if it's a product for customers, you can go out and create these smoke tests where you just put out a landing page, put down what the product is you want to use or that you want to sell, and just put traffic on it and see how people react. And this gives you a very good idea if this is worth your time. Again, it's always about this, checking if something breaks and checking if your assumption that someone wants this is actually true. If you realize, okay, this all works, next step would be creating a prototype. This can be, you probably all read literature that talks about, rapid prototyping. And so you all know prototype can be a lot of things. So you can have, a product prototype, pen and paper. You can create a website, or you can put out a shop, and spinning together different technologies to just very, very, very quickly get a super, super minimal product that again shows you at the end, validated, if there's demand. And what is demand? What is the validation? It's someone spending money, right? And if someone spends money on your product, as a startup, this is usually something really, really cool to tell to your prospective investors, saying, hey, we have someone who wants to buy it. Also in a corporation, if you want to do a venture, this is something that shows, okay, this is worthwhile. We should continue doing it. And yeah, this is the product, the product validation part of it. Of course, after you've done the validation, the actual work starts. Yeah.
It pretty much sounds like you have a lot of experience in product development. Can you give us like the 2 or 3 top mistakes entrepreneurs are making or corporates are making in their product development, like wrong assumptions? They first want to have like the finished S-Class Mercedes before they even go out, or what are the most frequent mistakes you're seeing there in product development?
Mm-hmm. So one of the problems I often see is people disregarding their validated or partially validated target group assumptions. So, if you know exactly which problem you want to solve, you shouldn't start doing concept for your product that adds stuff that just doesn't do anything to solve this problem, that you just think it should be in there. But most founders, or some founders, I don't want to generalize, but this is a problem I've seen. If you're trying to do a product, realize that a startup is a feature. This is not creating this huge full Monty product that will, solve every problem at once. You're just solving one tiny bit of a problem that is a real big pain for your customer.
It reminds me of the app that was just able to send yo to another person, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was a great example. Sure, I mean, we don't know what this product actually solves, but it's fun to do. So probably it solves the problem of being bored, or trying to communicate with someone without words. But yeah, I mean, this is something you need to realize. As a startup, you're a feature and not going full Monty. Second thing I would say that is one of these top problems is one thing that also is sometimes an issue is realizing that what you're doing does not work. So even if you go out and validate, you need to come to the point where you tell yourself, okay, what I thought would work does not work. And you want to notice this early, because some people kind of have the feeling, my time doesn't have a price ticket, right? I'm not wasting money by doing something. But, you only have a very limited lifetime, so to say. So if you realize that what you do doesn't work, either iterate and, you need to completely disregard all the work you already put in. This is all worthless in the moment you realize nobody wants this product. So being quick and being agile in your head and saying, all right, so this doesn't work, so let's try something else. Maybe you've learned something along the way where you see, okay, this is not the initial problem I thought there would be, but this is different, but still something worth following up on to, right? This is something you need to always keep in mind, and be creative in your head and realize the moment this doesn't make any sense anymore, stop doing it, do something else. I think last but not least, and this is of course something that we realized when we did our startup, is you need to go out quickly, and your idea is worth nothing. Ideas don't have any value. Execution matters. So, you need to work on your idea, but talk about it, get input on it, and test it early. If you sit, in your, I once heard the story from someone, who was doing a mentorship, and for someone, and this someone, created this product and was sitting in their basement basically for years, right? And they never went out and validated whether or not someone wanted this product. So always go out of the building, always try to find your customer quickly, and see if what your assumptions are is really true. If you don't do this, there's a very good chance that you're wasting your lifetime or your money, and the customers don't hurt you. So just talk to them and try to find them.
Usually they don't hurt me, right?
Usually.
Great. Thank you for those very interesting insights.
Happy to talk about them.
Mm-hmm. I see. How far does your service offering go? Is it actually like you are the outsourced product development for startups, for corporates?
No, I think it's a lot more involved with the people responsible for this venture. So especially in a startup or in a corporate startup or in the validation phase within a company builder, it's a lot of very close work with the founders. It's a lot of iterating. It's a lot of discussing and building your assumptions how something should be, and then try to determine if reality is like your assumption. And this is basically the whole process you have to go through. And this is nothing you can do as some outsider, where you just sitting there and then after 4 weeks you send them a PPT and maybe a nice presentation with warm words. It's really the real nitty gritty of developing a product and scaling this. This is how involved we usually get.
I see. Is there like a limitation in terms of geography where you're working?
So usually we're working with German companies, but in terms of validation, we work in the European market, currently mostly in the German-speaking and English-speaking markets. Because to create something that is convincing. So if you're validating a product, there's a lot of ways to do this to check for traction. But usually it involves that the language well enough to create a value proposition and a copy that is convincing. So as my Spanish or French is rather basic, it's something if you're going for example, if you're validating a B2B product in Europe, you can usually use English as a lingua franca, so it's well. But going for a B2C product, for example, in France or Spain or Italy, this is something we probably would have to brighten or read up on our foreign language skills.
I see. We may also add people here and see a little bit on background of your office location. You are not actually located in Frankfurt itself. You are located in Offenbach, and there is usually a rivalry. You may be able to compare it to something like, maybe New York and Jersey City, where Offenbach takes the part of Jersey City. And there are a lot of jokes flying around on both sides. How do you feel about the cooperation between Frankfurt and Offenbach?
To be honest, I think they're far more intertwined as either city would care to say or care to admit. But to be honest, I don't really feel that there's a divide between the two cities. So maybe for the people who might not know both cities, it's like you don't see where one city ends and the other one starts. And there's a lot of people from Frankfurt moving to Offenbach. There's a lot of companies moving to Offenbach as well. At least that's what I see. So I guess, in the end, this is all nice and good, but when it comes to doing business, at least in the demography I'm moving or I'm situated, I don't see that there's still difference between the two cities.
We may also add that Offenbach is a very interesting multicultural city here in the Rhine-Main area, where there are also a lot of very nice places, good restaurants, and also increasingly high-end apartments. That said, right now, approximately 80% of our vast audience is outside of Germany. And when I talk to those people, they do have the impression that Frankfurt is a little bit more conservative, suit-wearing city, where on the other hand, Berlin is like the hip city where the innovation takes place. We already eliminated the case that there are no beard-wearing yuppies in Frankfurt, especially you with your beard and less conservative looking. And also we may add that your partner, your co-founder, Dennis, is also having like a huge beard as well. How do you feel about the innovation potential here in Frankfurt, and where do you think Frankfurt has still shortcomings in terms of the startup scene, of the innovation also in corporates?
Mm-hmm. So to give you my very personal view on this, of course, it's a little biased because I'm from the area here. I guess, each city has something for themselves. Berlin is more of a cluster, so to say. So you have a lot of freelancers, a lot of designers, a lot of developers from worldwide who live in Berlin, who are readily available there for creating a venture, for creating a startup. And it's very easy to find very capable people, and it's a lot of young people. So it's kind of, you don't have these overarching processes or mindsets of how things should be done, right? While Frankfurt is maybe a little bit more conservative, but at least it's of course a city where there's a lot more corporates, where it's a lot harder to hire because the larger corporations pay a lot more than startups are able or willing to. But and this is I think crucial. I always had a little bit of the feeling that whatever happens in Frankfurt is more how to say. There's a lot more push behind it to make something happen, to realize a product. And while in Berlin there's a lot of very innovative people, but often enough, stuff just degrades to becoming like a side project. And sometimes, this is definitely not for all, because there are a lot of awesome startups in Berlin, but there's a little bit of this will to make it happen in Berlin. While Frankfurt, there's more. If it's done, then it's done, right? So there's a little bit the feeling I have. But again, this is very very personal view on it, and probably just captures part of the reality. What do you think, actually?
It's hard to say, because the people I'm interviewing here at Startuprad.io, there is actually not a big difference between the people working in either Berlin or Frankfurt, Munich, Cologne, Hamburg, wherever. So I don't feel there is like a big difference anymore. Admittedly, the VC numbers are a little bit higher in Berlin, but I do believe that a lot of stuff is flying, as we say, under the radar in many different cities, and especially Berlin gets the most attention of the international press. That would be like my personal assumption right now. And of course, I'm also working to kind of correct this picture just a tiny bit. That said, for what type of services would people be able to reach out to you guys?
So I guess whenever there's a innovation department in a company looking for ways to validate their new product ideas, whether or not there is company builders who want to offer validation services within their programs, accelerators as well. Also, we can, or what we love to do is help existing startups and corporate startups to scale. So, getting the first clients, establishing the infrastructure, getting the tracking right, getting marketing right, do everything customer centric and data driven, at least as far as it is possible. At least in the beginning, a lot of startups face this problem of not having enough data to actually optimize on, just because traffic needs to be bought. But I think these are the services you can get from us. This external or the product team you need to have in order to iterate quickly with your product and get traction soon. I guess this is where we could help.
So the only thing left for me to say is thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you and hope to have you back on the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.